There's a device that I've been using called a Whoop.
Hello, and welcome back to IGOW3. Field correspondent Danny here, on location at the local high school field to introduce weekly challenge number 12, the NewBeeDrone inverted orbits. You can technically do an inverted orbit around anything, but if you're just learning the trick, you should look for something very tall and skinny, like these stadium lights here, ideally that has a larger point of interest at the top. In a perfect inverted orbit, the pole or support of your point of interest will stay at the top of your FPV view, but that's not absolutely required for this week's challenge. Let's go back to Dan and Liz in IGOW Studios so they can break down all the requirements.
Thanks, field correspondent Danny. Local sports fields are a great place to learn a variety of FPV tricks, and it's one of my favorite places to fly. This week's challenge features the inverted orbit, or better known as a trippy spin. In a standard orbit, like we did in week 1, you spin around your POI with the sky at the top of your screen and the ground at the bottom of your screen. When doing an inverted orbit, you're flipped upside down. So the sky should be at the bottom of your screen and the ground should be at the top of your screen.
Yep, that's right. If your Whoop had 0 camera angle just like this, that would be exactly how it would be. You'd be orbiting around the object like this for a standard orbit. Then you'd have to be upside down to get the inverted orbit effect. But luckily our Whoops have some camera angle, so typically on a standard orbit you're going to be tilted forward at the object like this, orbiting around it. And then for an inverted orbit, you wouldn't just flip upside down because then you'd be facing the ground and not looking at it at all. You're actually flipping around with your back to the obstacle and your drone's looking away and back up at the point of interest, and then you're spinning around like this with the back of your drone to the obstacle. Just a few years ago, this trick was considered almost impossible for a Whoop. However, all the recent progression has made the inverted orbit a common freestyle maneuver that is even possible for 1S 65mm Whoops. There are a small number of people and companies in FPV that drive the majority of the innovations, and this week's featured sponsor, NewBeeDrone, is one of the companies that is always pushing the progression of FPV and leading the way by example.
That's right. There are lots of companies that sell FPV drones and parts, but only a select few that actually spend their own time and money to develop new products and technology. Unfortunately, there's a lot of copying just what's popular and selling it for cheap in our hobby right now. But luckily, there are still companies like NewBeeDrone who are constantly working to improve their products and develop new tech that drives the progression that we are currently enjoying.
NewBeeDrone has always been known for having some of the highest quality products. When I first got into Whoops, I went through a ton of Banggood frames before I heard of NewBeeDrone and the original brushed cockroach frame, which was a tank compared to those flimsy things. Fast forward 4 years and NewBeeDrone still has the consensus most durable Whoop frame available with their brushless Cockroach V2.
NewBeeDrone is also known for their bind and fly whoops and micros. They make the most well thought out and highest quality builds available. Dan and I have both been flying NewBeeDrone builds at our races for the last year.
I personally have been racing with the Hummingbird F4 Pro and my racing skills have greatly improved. I was able to make the elite class at Wootopia and Whoop Wars Denver with this guy here, but recently I've been flying NewBeeDrone's newest bind and fly, the Acro B65 BLV3. This runs the B-Brain BLV3 board, which is the newest board on the market, and I love it. I'll definitely be buying a few more of these guys to build up my race fleet for Wootopia 2022. And whenever I'm racing my Whoops, I always make sure I have a fresh pack of NewBeeDrone Nitro Nectar Gold batteries because they are definitely the gold standard when it comes to Whoop racing batteries.
I was running the brushed Hummingbird, the Project Mockingbird edition, which flew awesome straight out of the box and really helped me improve my racing skills. Recently, I have advanced to flying the brushless Hummingbird now that I fly much faster and move more consistently. I highly recommend getting yourself a Whoop from NewBeeDrone. We mostly fly Whoops and micros, but NewBeeDrone has a good selection on parts for 5-inch quads, like the NewBeeDrone Infinity stack that I have inside my 5-inch that I built myself. NewBeeDrone also has a sweet Cinewhoop that was designed to carry the Insta360 1R camera in such a way that it allows the drone to be invisible, so you can get some really cool, unique, incredible shots.
NewBeeDrone further cements its reputation as an excellent company that has the highest quality products by continually improving even their basic accessories. The NewBeeDrone goggle foam is super comfortable and lasts forever, and the NewBeeDrone transmitter strap is absolutely the best on the market. It has the best clasp that's available. Now they have this super secure clasp that only comes off when you want it to, and I wouldn't trust my transmitter with any other strap. You can get all the NewBeeDrone products that we have talked about, as well as many more products from all these featured brands when you visit NewBeeDrone.com.
In addition to fueling progression with their innovative products, NewBeeDrone also supports the FPV community by directly sponsoring an extremely diverse team of pilots. The team includes incredible Whoop pilots and names that you would know from IGOW, like Daylight FPV, Agilis, OG Dr. Love, and Team Captain AK, as well as top 5-inch racers like Leviathan and Heads Up FPV, makers and creators like Kevin of TKS and Awesome, famous FPV celebs like Lil Stellar Fox and Cricket, highly intelligent minds like Zach Carazelis and Patrick J. Clark, and excellent content creators like Ren from Corridor Crew, and of course, are you serious? And amazing content creators like Ren from Corridor Crew and my amazing husband, Daniel Sagano, aka FPV Skittles.
Big shout out to all my fellow NewBeeDrone team pilots. Okay, now let's jump into the requirements for weekly challenge number 12, the NewBeeDrone inverted orbits. Requirement number 0 is that your video is a maximum of 60 seconds long and you follow all of the IGOW3 posting rules.
Requirement number 1 is that you must find or set up a POI for your inverted orbits. It can be anywhere and any size, but it must have something like a pole that reaches all the way down to the ground that you're capable of orbiting around.
Requirement number 2 is that in the same clip, you must complete at least 2 full consecutive inverted orbits in each direction, clockwise and counterclockwise. Both sets of required orbits do not have to be immediately one after another, but they both must be in the same clip or battery. You are allowed to speed up your footage in between your required orbits if necessary to get them into the 60-second requirement.
Requirement number 3 is that you must keep part of the POI in your FPV view at all times. And you must keep the pole at the top of your FPV view for part of each orbit. In a perfect inverted orbit, it would stay centered at the top of your FPV view. So that is the goal. But we will allow it to dip down to the side of your FPV view as long as it does not get to a 90-degree angle with the side of the FPV view. Hopefully, this clip from Season 1 of IGOW explains this requirement more thoroughly.
Requirement number 3 is a little bit difficult to explain, so I'm going to try to do it, and you pretend that the screen here is the FPV view. So ideally, your pole or whatever is supporting your POI will stay in the top of the FPV view the entire time while you're orbiting, because that would make it a true inverted orbit. But we're not going to be that picky this week. If you do happen to have the pole dip down to the corner, that is going to be still acceptable, but if you go down to the side of the FPV view, then you have to make sure that the pole never gets to 90 degrees, because that becomes a knife edge orbit at that point. So during your 3 orbits, at some point during all 3 orbits, you have to have the pole in the top of the view at some point during one point of each 3 orbits. And again, if you dip down and have the pole coming out of the side of the FPV view for part of the orbit, that's fine, as long as you never make it to 90 degrees or past and turn your orbit into a knife edge orbit instead of a spooky spin. Thanks, Dan from the past. This week, we also have a We Bleed FPV $10 bonus challenge. The winner will be whoever completes at least 2 consecutive inverted orbits around the lowest point of interest. See if you can beat this example from IGOW2 finalist and IGOW3 judge Heads as he orbits around himself while standing on a chair.
Wow, that's impressive. I know I say this every week, but I'll say it again. Practice this trick in the simulator before you try it with a real whoop. The stick movements are somewhat counterintuitive, so watch some tutorials and get the feel down for how to enter and how to adjust your inverted orbits in the sim so that you can pull it off in real life. Alright, good luck and happy whooping!
On a new adventure. My time, watch me build another life, find another space, explore the world and find my place. Hope you find some peace of mind, hope the night was worth your time. Threw my heart away, we won't see another day. We both know the score, we've been here once before, so many